Holy crap, I'm finally back! I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time. One of my favorite bands in the freaking world, dude. Just this little known band that just so happened to play the opening ceremony of the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics. I couldn't be more proud. As someone who has followed them since L'Enfant Sauvage was brand new, this was just so freaking cool. I was hoping to come out with this sooner to like match with the hype at the time, but life and work and jobs and motivation and all that. No free time for anything. But that's not going to stop me from doing a tier list of all their albums released so far. Just to reiterate, I adore Gojira. They are one of my favorite bands ever. They're actually like my favorite band just behind Tool and Deftones. If I remember correctly, I've seen them 8 times, and I'm about to see them a 9th time with Korn and Spirit Box. Seriously, one of the greatest live bands I have ever seen, and probably ever will see, but enough praise, I can go on endlessly about them. Let's get right into the video. Alright, so just like usual, we got the tiers here. I'm only going to use 5 because it just seems appropriate. The lowest one is D because I don't think they really have any F albums. You know the drill. We got 8 albums here. Not many people know about this third one, but we're going to get to it in a little bit. So, starting off, we have the debut full-length album from Gojira, Terra Incognita. I will never forget the first time I heard this album. I was super into it in high school. I had an iPod that had this album, as well as From Mars to Sirius and The Way of All Flesh on it. Except the names of the songs were all jumbled up, so I had to figure it out for myself, which ones were which. But just starting off getting into them, this was my favorite for quite a while until I realized, I liked other albums so much more. But that really speaks to just the sound that they have. Like right off the bat, they had a ferocious, monstrous record. Like they wear the influences on their sleeves, Morbid Angels, Sepultura, and it shows on this album for sure. It's very rough around the edges. It's not the best produced, it's not the best written, but there is a rawness and a heaviness here that they really haven't tapped into since, arguably. And there are countless great tracks on here. Satan is a Lawyer, Lizard Skin, just to name a couple of my favorites. Clone goes so hard. I really want to see them play that one live. And of course, Love, which, obviously it goes so hard, and they do still pull that one out live very often. But other killer tracks on here too, such as Space Time and In the Forest, Blow Me Away Universe. I personally think it's great. It's nowhere near what they go on to do, but I still really like it to this day. I'll put it in B. Following that one up 2 years later, we have The Link, their second album. Now this one arguably has sloppier production, I guess you could say. The kick drum stands out as being, it just sounds off, like too thuddy, and it's just strange. And the guitars don't have as much boost, I guess you could say. But you could argue that it is intentional because as much as they don't like the production on this album, it does play into a lot of the more tribal-esque aesthetics that they were going for with this album. A lot more tribal instrumentation, especially in the interludes. A lot more rhythmic patterns, used even more so than the debut. And it's clearly present in songs such as Indians or Death of Me. Death of Me goes so hard, like that. Like, what the hell? That is just a friggin' flail my body into the pavement repeatedly, dance around a fire type shit. I do think it's a little bit lacking, but there is no shortage of good songs on here. Remembrance is great. They played the outro pretty frequently for good reason, because that, the syncopated rhythms just killer. Other great songs such as Inward Movements, Wisdom Comes is a friggin' rager. I still really want to see them play that live. I've yet to. As well as Embrace the World. That is a very underrated track. That song absolutely kills. And Dawn is a really cool and fitting closer for this album as well. Overall, I would probably say it's my least favorite studio album from Gojira, but it's not completely lacking for sure. I'll put it in C. Now, you may be asking yourself, Heavy, what is this? This, my fine friends, this is a soundtrack that was recorded live while a French silent film was being projected in the background. I believe this was recorded at a university or something like that. Now, the hardcore Gojira fans may know exactly what this is. This is I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of this. M'assiste à l'inferno. It is a very odd album. I've only listened to it twice. I've yet to see like the actual performance of it and the backdrop of the film that I guess the music is supposed to sync up with in a way, like storytelling. It's basically like a film score, but it's very much in the Gojira fashion to an extent. It doesn't completely work or stand on its own. The production is weak and the drums sound really clippy, especially in the kick. It's definitely not that engaging of a listen. The vocals here and there are very silly, but that probably has to do with the film. But because it is like a score, there are recurring bits and themes and sections throughout the album's runtime. There's no actual titles, it's just M'assiste 1 or 8, or I think it goes up to like 15, I think. M'assiste 13 was later reworked as My Last Creation, which was on the special edition of L'Enfant Sauvage. And most notably, M'assiste 8 was actually later recreated as Inferno, which was released in 2020 on their YouTube channel, not long after they released the single Another World for Fortitude. And the version on this, like, it just pales in comparison. Inferno is easily one of the best Gojira tracks. It absolutely fucking kills. Overall, it shows like their hunger and boldness even from early on. It is a step outside the box, even though it's like really fresh and early in their career, but it's not something I would really like bother going back to. I'll put it in D. Okay, here we go. Big jump in quality. Here we go to The Giants. What is there to say? From Mars to Sirius, it's one of the greatest albums ever fucking made. One of my favorite albums ever. I could sit here and just go on for days about how amazing this album is. The production is so big and grand. It sounds like it's being recorded at the edge of a 10,000 foot tall cliff. It's just gigantic. The songwriting, production, riffs, tone, the drum production, the vocals, everything sounds so big and crushing and heavy and massive and bold. Easily some of their best work, indisputably. I can't tell you how many times I just go back to Ocean Planet alone. I mean, you could argue that the best songs on here are The Heaviest Matter of the Universe, Flying Whales, and I wouldn't argue with you at all. I mean, not to mention Backbone, my god. But Ocean Planet just hits so different for me, and I would die happy if I finally got to see them play that live. But yeah, there are literally no bad songs on this fucking album whatsoever. Every single song is so good. I would even say my favorite song on here is probably the most underrated and overlooked track, and that is World to Come. Beautiful song. But I mean, you could point to Flying Whales, but I would say that a song that really just fits the production and songwriting overall of this album just to a perfect T would be Where Dragons Dwell. It's soaring, heavy, the syncopation, the vocals, the thematic elements. I just need to shut the fuck up and put this in S already. Moving on from there, an album that I would probably say is just like a little teensy tiny bit better than From Mars to Sirius is their follow-up in 2008, The Way of All Flesh. This album right here is the solidification of Gojira as a force to be fucking reckoned with. It was after this album's release where they went on tour with the likes of Metallica. This is arguably their tightest and darkest and heaviest record. The crispness of the guitar tone is to die for. This album has so much going for it. It's arguably like the best production up to this point. It has a few of their best songs on here without a doubt. Again, no bad songs on here whatsoever. It flows like from front to back just so well. I would say if The Art of Dying or Adoration for None wasn't on here, it wouldn't be my favorite because those are the two best songs on this fucking album without a doubt. Adoration for None is my favorite Gojira song. It's arguably even the heaviest, and it features none other than Randy Blythe from Lamb of God on vocals. Yeah, whether it's Ouroboros, which is just so driving and straightforward, great messaging, great riffs, great playing throughout, excellent, excellent opener. Or Toxic Garbage Island, which just hits so hard, super, super heavy. Or A Sight to Behold, which lyrically and vocally is one of the most like well-rounded Gojira songs ever. And other highlights or like overlooked songs like Yama's Messengers or Esoteric Surgery, the title track, oh my god. Of course, Vacuity, like just come on, undeniable. I'm putting this in S. It's where it belongs. So following that up, 4 years later, they put out an album called L'Enfant Sauvage. And I still don't think to this day that I'm pronouncing that correctly. A lot of Gojira fans would argue that they peaked with this album, and I can totally see that. If you want to make the argument that this is your favorite Gojira album, I wouldn't argue with you. It's my third favorite. This album has so much going for it. This is like where I got introduced to this. This album was brand new at the time. When you front the album with the title track and Explosia, you're in for a f***ing treat and a half. I can't get over how good the title track is, honestly. But this album has arguably like my second or third-ish favorite song of theirs ever. And like, oh my god, what this song did to me. Especially when I first like heard it and discovered just how much I f***ing loved it. The Gift of Guilt. And the fact that I got to see them play that live Aftershock 2019 blew me away. I was so happy. It's such a good f***ing track. And there are plenty of other really fucking underrated songs from them on here too. Mouth of Kala, Hello, or Planned Obsolescence, which is just fucking punishing, and it has an epic bridge and then just like an even more devastating outro to the track. It's just, oh my god, it's so good. And topical as well. And of course, the other single, Born in Winter, just an undeniable song, yeah. Oh, this album's so good. I will say though, like, every single song on here is good, but I wouldn't say that from a front to back listen that I prefer it over From Mars to Sirius and The Way of All Flesh. There's a lot of great shit on here for sure, and like I love listening. And even the two special edition songs, while they don't compare to the rest of the album, do have something great to offer as well. They're still really good songs. Overall, it falls short of S for me, but I will put this in A. Then, 4 years later, we got this opus, this mission statement. The Almighty Magma. Now, to this day, this kind of divides Gojira fans. When the first single, Stranded, was released, it was like a bomb went off. Gojira's back, baby. A lot of people really didn't know what to make of it, but that didn't stop it from becoming like their biggest song by a mile and a half. And for good damn reason, too. It's just so damn good. And then the second single, Silvera, was released with a music video. It's like, boom, this is f***ing it right here. Oh my god. It became like, I think their like second biggest song, arguably. And honestly, it's like a top 5, 6, 7 Gojira song for me. Silvera is incredible. Even my girlfriend, who's not even really into metal at all, I showed her Silvera and she was like, I love this. But that's the thing about this album. Magma is easily like their most accessible work up to this point. And it works in their favor because they don't really sacrifice their sound. They just fine-tune it. I wouldn't say simplify, but that is kind of what they're doing. From a front to back listen, it kind of goes by pretty quick. There isn't as much to sink into as previous albums, but that doesn't mean that like the album is lacking in great songs. They're all over this record. The Shooting Star is gorgeous. It's heavy. It's also heartbreaking. And of course, The Cell, which is like probably the most complex song on here. Oh my god, it just works so well live. I think they've played it every single time I've seen them, and for good goddamn reason. And the title track it's just like, wow, like it's no wonder you named the album after this song. Great clean vocals, more so than any other Gojira record up until this point. And then Prey is just a progressive masterclass with a crushingly heavy outro. Only Pain is a straight-ahead rocker, and Lowlands is another beautiful fucking song. I will say I don't give a shit about Liberation, but overall, this is an excellent album. I don't care what like old school fans think. I love Magma to death. There's a reason why it became their biggest, most popular album, and I will put it up in A, gladly. Then, 5 very long years later, In 2021, we got to see the release of Fortitude. During the midst of the pandemic in the middle of 2020, they released the single and video for Another World, which I was just super happy about. It is a really cut and dry, straightforward Gojira rock song. I will say, like, the main riff, like the it is so difficult to play on guitar. It frustrates me because I can basically play like most, like if not any Gojira song, but that riff always, like, holy shit, like what the fuck. And then eventually in early 2021 we saw the release of the single Born for One Thing with a music video attached to that, and I will probably say it's my favorite song off of here. It goes so hard. It's very simple. Like, it goes through a few different movements and then it comes crashing down with just an absolutely devastating breakdown to close out the track, and that makes me want to go in the opposite direction of the circle pit and just pummel through everyone like I'm a f***ing snowplow. Then we saw Amazonia released as a single in the lead up to the release of the album, and it's right up there for me with Born for One Thing. Probably second favorite song on this album. Really, really, really good. This album really does follow in the formula of Magma in terms of accessibility, which really does work in its favor. But maybe to some, like, longtime Gojira fans, really doesn't. They do tend to play it safe and a bit basic when it comes to riffage, whether it be on Newfound or The Chant, maybe Hold On as well, or Sphinx is a good example. But they do keep it tight and technical, like Into the Storm and on Grind as well. But that's not to say that these aren't bad songs at all. Like, not at all. I love Hold On. I love how much it reminds me of Tool. And I love the hammer-on pull-off riff, like with the neck pickup on. That's really cool. And they brought back the whammy pedal. Like, that's so cool. They did the same thing on Newfound. And then there's like a breakdown in the middle that has just like the cleanest pinch harmonics ever. I can't even do it. It's so cool. And honestly, it is a little cheesy. It is a little bit of a corny song, but the video's great. The song's good, and witnessing it live is even better. The Chant is a good song. I do like The Chant. And the softest song on here, The Trails, I have a real big soft spot for. Although I wish they would have, like, brought it to a bit more of a crescendo for the outro, make that more of a climax, so to speak. Overall, it is a really solid album. Not their best, but not their worst in my opinion. I'll put Fortitude up in B. There we go, y'all. From Mars to Sirius and The Way of All Flesh topped it out at S, as they should. Very close in A, we have L'Enfant Sauvage and Magma. In the B category, we got their debut Terra Incognita and their latest Fortitude. And in C, we have The Link. And D, the very rare Massiste All Inferno. Oh my god, I love Gojira so much, guys. You guys don't even know. Well, actually, you do know because you just watched the video. So tell me what you guys think, where we should put each of these albums. Let me know down in the comments. I'm sorry for the very long absence, you know, life, money. But like the video anyway, make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a video and all that jazz. Stay tuned for my next video, or don't. It just doesn't matter, as long as you enjoy. Super. This album had this